Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inside Out. My guest is someone who was very astute as a captain, and he also showed great leadership qualities. As expected, once he retired from cricket, he went into politics. Even there, he had a great record. He won three consecutive terms, contesting from different parties and from different districts. Success and this person are almost synonymous. And that person is none other than Arjuna Ranatunga. It's my pleasure to present to you Arjuna, the World Cup winning captain of Sri Lanka. Welcome, Arjuna. Nice to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me, Raman.
And you're looking good and you're looking nice and bright.
We have got stuck in the houses for about almost a year, so hardly have any work. So doesn't feel bad anyway.
Your last election result became a setback. Was it expected, or was there some last minute turn of events?
No, it was more like the entire party I joined recently lost all the electorates, and it was nothing to do with the personality. It is more like they were looking at the new era for the new president, and I think it's one way. I don't blame anyone. It's all about what people thinks, and now that they have realized whether it is good or bad. But overall, I felt that it was a good break for me. I played almost 20 years when I was 18. I started, and then I was in Parliament for almost 20 years. So 40 years cricket and politics. Now I get little time to spend time with my not children like big children. So doing a little bit of my own work now.
But of course, you'll take great pride in the work that you did in your earlier terms and the portfolios you had.
No, the president and the prime minister had a lot of confidence on me, and I was given three major ministries within these 5 years. The first one was the port and aviation, and the port was the most corrupted organization in this country, and the unions used to run, but I could control everyone, and we started running on profits for the first time within 1.5 years. Then I was shifted to the petroleum, which was struggling very badly. And that also we turned it around. I had a lot of issues with the unions, but I knew how to put them on the wall. And then the last one was the aviation and transport, which I really enjoyed. I was getting very comfortable transportation for the common people, which a lot of people thanked me. And I used to spend 14 to 16 hours every day. And it was like I was getting tired at one time, but when you go back to people, I really enjoyed working with some of these people.
What are the lessons that you learned from cricket helped you in politics?
Started as an 18-year-old kid. There are a lot of issues in Sri Lankan cricket, but I could take everyone when I go the leadership, went for a common goal, work really well as a unit. This is the same thing I took it for my ministries. I didn't control anyone. I was the leader and the captain in the ministries, and I used to listen to a lot of people. But ultimately, the success I had was I was analyzing everything and taking the right decision, and it's my decision.
What was it playing for Sri Lanka in international cricket as a schoolboy cricketer? Was it exciting or was it intimidating?
I was very lucky that I could play my first test match, the country's first test match in '82 as a 18-year-old schoolboy, and no one expected me to perform. And they were expecting a young boy to go out there and enjoy my cricket, which I did. And I was lucky that I could get the first half century for the country. I worked really hard on my cricket, and I was lucky when it comes to the '96. I had 13 committed guys who had the same vision I had. I think it was not the best team I picked. It was the most committed team I picked in '96 to win the World Cup.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But as I remember, you were earmarked early on to become the captain of the Sri Lankan team, after a couple of seasons in international cricket. They were not wrong, people who backed you early on.
I think I was brought up by my parents. They were very uh, like they used to control us. They used to tell us what is right and what is wrong, and they taught us the culture of the country. They taught us the good and bad, and I think we were guided well. Then I was lucky that when I got into my school in Colombo, the teachers was doing the same thing, and my mother being a teacher, so we had to go through all the discipline process we had. So it helped me by the time I got into the international cricket thing. And I was identified as I was first when I played as a left-hand batsman. They couldn't find a left-hander for the first test match. That was the luck I had. And then when it comes to the latter part, they identified my leadership by appointing me when I was about 21. I was appointed as a vice captain to Dulip Mendis, and then it was long story. Then by 88, I took over for almost 10 years. I had to lead the country.
School cricket was a breeding ground for Sri Lankan cricket those days. Does it continue to be the same now?
Not at all. I think that's one of the disappointment I have. Like when I was at the cricket board in 2008, I was trying to get school cricket, the standard, into a different line. I think that was the platform we all had. Like it was more like the foundation. But unfortunately, when you go and watch school cricket, those days you could find Aravind De Silvas, Mahanamas, Murales, Jasuryas, then latter part Sangakkara's, and not much Sangakkara but Mahela. We identified them when they were playing for the school, but unfortunately it doesn't happen anymore. There are a lot of cricketers are playing, but you can't find a single guy to play for the Division One club even today. So the cricket standard has gone down in school level. That was pretty unfortunate. But one good thing, Raman, that we are very lucky. We produce people from nowhere. We are producing cricketers. Even the school standard, the club standard has gone down, but we still can manage compete with some of the top countries.
You have been busy in your politics. Have you had the time to follow what's going on in Sri Lankan cricket in recent years?
Not from 2015 to 2020. It was a hectic time I had, especially with the ministry work. But whenever I used to have little time, I used to watch a little bit of TV, but I haven't been to a cricket ground for almost like 5 years. It was something I was missing, but the responsibility was too much for me to take a day or two off, even to enjoy cricket. And once in a way, I used to go and play a Masters game just for a charity thing. But overall, it was the commitment I had for the government and the country at that time. So, but now, especially in the last couple of months, started watching India playing Australia. Then I watched a couple of New Zealand games, and the COVID has given me little time to go back to my first love, and I spent little time watching even watch the 3 2020s and even the 3 1 days Australia Indian thing, and the Sri Lankan Premier League has started, which I haven't had time to watch. But overall, now that I get into a little bit of cricket, and I'm planning to write my book now that I have little more time, which I have been neglected very badly. And now that my daughter has come back from States, finishing the um, degree and the masters, so she's going to help me to write the book. So next year I'll be a little busy finishing my book.
That'll be interesting. I look forward to reading it. The thing is that the things have been a little bit up and down in Sri Lankan cricket in recent times. There's always been a lot of talent, but do you think there's a lack of leadership now?
I think there was a pattern. If I go back to 1980s, like when I got into the side, the national cricket team was controlled, managed by 2 3 top players. Like as example, we'll say Julip and Roy Dice was controlling cricket for about 2 3 years. Then we joined as a younger guys. Then straight away got into responsibilities. And Madugal and I took over for about a year or two. At that time, Raman, we used to big cricketers like Jayasuriya was brought in to lead. Then we had players like Roshan and Hashan who had a lot of leadership qualities. And then we groomed Mavan Atapattu when we were seniors. And unfortunately, after Sanath and Mavan, they brought players like Dilshan, Sangakar, and Mahela. And when Mahela and Sangakar took over the leadership, we never had younger guys who got a proper, uh, uh, decent chance to groom themselves for the national side. That's where the lack of leadership and the quality went down. And still, I personally, when I looked at some of these cricketers, they have a lot of talent, but I feel the commitment is not there, and you need a strong lead, especially when it comes to Asian cricket. We are used to a system where we are controlled. Even when we were kids, we were controlled or monitored by parents, then the teachers, and that particular culture. I don't think we need to change that. You take Kohli has become a lot of people say he looks an arrogant cricketer, but I like his style. Even the Gangulis changed the entire concept in India. So you need to have a little bit of aggression, but I'm not saying over aggression. But when you are a leader, you need to control yourself. You need to control the team. But most important thing is if you can get everyone together to go for a common goal. That is the thing we are lacking at the moment.
I think they needs one more Arjuna Ranatunga at the moment. You hit a purple patch. You hit a purple patch as a captain in the mid '90s with a win away in New Zealand, away in Pakistan. That obviously augured well when you went into the World Cup, didn't it?
Like the planning started in 1984. I think it was almost like 1.5 years to close to 2 years. We were looking at the players. I targeted 20 cricketers for 1.5 years, maybe looking at the World Cup. The only exceptional guy who came from outside was Mavan Atapattu. He was not in my first 20 when I picked a 20 in the 1980, 1994, 95, and but he was getting a lot of runs, and we looked at him in a different way where if something happens to someone like Guru Singh, whether we have a replacement. But luckily, that particular planning went up, and the planning properly, the things came back to a very positive manner in our cricket, and it was very pleasing, especially when you work hard on a target, and even after a couple of years, if you could achieve at least that, if you can get close to achieving, that's more than enough.
As you got into the World Cup campaign in 1996, now where did you expect to go? Let's have an honest answer, Rajna. Did you really fancy your chances of winning the cup?
No, not we. I personally, I knew that we had a very close call because that we were playing in Asia, and we were playing so well, especially with the new concept where we brought Jayasuriya and Kaluvitharana to go after bowling. A lot of people used to ask me why you did that. It's mainly I pushed Roshan Mahanama to the middle, Guru Singh to do the anchor role, and Aravinda we kept him going. We never put any pressure on Aravinda. We knew if Aravinda is going to perform, that is where we are going to end up winning the World Cup. Because I always said he's one of the most talented batsmen I have ever come across in entire cricketing career. I still feel that he was the best. Maybe with Roy Das, he was the best batsman produced in this country. So we wanted to keep him clean, calm, no pressure. We allow him to do whatever he wants to do. But from Guru Singh to Roshan Mahanana and Hashan Tilakarat, and I was batting at number 5. So the burden, the entire batting burden we used to take. So when sometimes you had to bat at the 40th over and go and hit, sometimes you had to go at the 10th over and try to consolidate. So luckily, Roshan, Hashan, and myself had that planning going, and when it comes to the World Cup, the when we won against India in Delhi after chasing something like 280, that's the day the younger guys came and told me, Skip, we have a very good chance of winning this World Cup. And that message I didn't tell them. I always showed them the path, I always showed them the road, but I wanted them to believe that we are a very good side, whether we can end up on the top, which I didn't want to tell them. So
What inspired you to let Kalu and Sanath as loose cannons? Because Sanath was batting lower down the order, Kalu was batting lower down the order. What inspired you to make them open and then go after the bowlers?
now, when you analyze our side, we were very strong in the middle, pushing Mahanama to the middle. We had to capitalize on the first 15 overs, which we tried with Sanath in Sharjah. Then we tried Kalu just before the World Cup in Australia. I felt Kalu was batting at number 7. He was getting a good 30, 35, 40s, but couldn't capitalize his talent. So I got him to my room and I told him, Kalu, why don't you think of opening? The answer I got was, I have never opened. So I said, doesn't matter. I'll give you a blanket policy where you go and get me 100 runs in the first 15 overs with Sanath. Even if you get out, I don't care. Because I knew that if you take the semi-finals against India, we lost 2 wickets without any runs on the board. Both the openers got out. But we had batting up to number 7, solid batting. Then we had two guys like Dharmasen and Vas could bat.
The other thing you did very shrewdly was to have batters who could bowl a little bit. You know, Ara could bowl a little bit, Guru Sinha could bowl a little bit. Sanath, of course, started off as a spinner. You could roll your arm over. That was something you did brilliantly, like Kapil Dev did in '83. You had a lot of multi-dimensional cricketers in the side.
Yeah, that is one of the targets we had. I was inspired when I was young, when I played my first World Cup in '83. I was wondering how Kapil could win a World Cup with bits of pieces of cricketers. And then I realized the value of a batter who could bowl, a bowler who could bat. So we were promoting Sanath to be a better bat than a bowler. Aravinda could bowl and Guru Singh could bowl. The only person who couldn't bowl as a batsman was Sushant Mahanama. And out of my bowlers, Murali was awful, but he couldn't handle the bat. So we insist on their batting. Like after the day's play, we put them into the bowling machine, get them to bat for 45 minutes. So we always say that even if you are a good bowler, your place is not certain if you can't bat properly. And the fielding was the key factor then. Especially, I come back to the fielding. The fielding standard went up mainly because we started getting fit. We started losing a lot of unwanted extra weight we had, and that I still say that Alex Kuntur, who came from Australia as the physio, controlled us and got our fitness standard into a level where our batting standard comes up and our bowling standard comes up, and we were a brilliant fielding side because we started getting fit.
Let me get to the other facet of Arjuna Ranatunga. The remarkable thing about you was that you could, get into an altercation, you could wind up people on the field, but that didn't affect you at all.
I think that was some gift I had. I always knew that whenever I walk without running, the opposition gets angry. I always wanted them to get angry with. They tried to provoke a young Sri Lankan cricket team in the early '80s. Then no one gave them back, and suddenly when we realized that they can't also take this thing, when they are also getting panic, especially at the World Cup finals. We realized that they were panicked more than us. They started playing the World Cup finals maybe about a day before the finals, and we were not bothered. We decided to play the finals just after the toss. Till then, we never took that seriously, apart from the team meetings, and we went out for dinner. We had fun. In mornings, we went out for a. There was a carpet exhibition which all of us went and had fun.
Your relationship with Shane Warne was equally enthralling off the field, but presumably both of you had a healthy respect for each other's ability.
I think it's all about how you handle people. Like we knew that he was a very good bowler and guy who win games for Australia. So we had to counter attack him in a different way. And I never thought he got panic. He got really panic in the final, and I never expected him to get panic being a so-called a match-winning bowler. But overall, it was. Uh, I still respect him as one of the greatest I have seen. But as a left hand, I'm sure you will agree with me that we have an advantage playing the leg spinners. I never had a problem with Vaughan.
After the World Cup triumph, Sri Lanka won at the Oval as well. But what did not go right in the 99 World Cup campaign? It was a very experienced team. They've been playing together for a while. What did not happen right in 99 World Cup?
I thought by the time we came to the 99 World Cup, we had a lot of issues in the team. Like there were administration issues, like the cricket board was trying to promote too many players to take over the leadership. It was more like in '96, I will say we had a family together who played played a tournament, but we had different sort of cricketers. When I took over the '99, they they were controlled by outside elements for the World Cup. Some just wanted to participate. Like we never, apart from maybe 4 5 guys, others were not focused enough when we went there, and the conditions were never suited us from the first day. A lot of things went against that. That's not an excuse I give, but generally we never played good cricket at all.
Talk us through the Murli incident in the early 90s in Australia.
I saw Murali when he was playing for his school. I can remember I went and saw him. I didn't get down from my vehicle. I was in the vehicle and watched him bowling. And then I realized that he looks very talented. I brought him to the squad. We allowed him to bowl at us at nets. Straight away, we picked him. We knew that he is the match winner. So by the time we go to Australia, we knew that there will be issues. It happened in '95, '96, but we were not. We never thought that it will happen, and it was more like a shock to us in '95, '96. By the time we come to '98 tour, we expect that someone to maybe call Murali or warn Murali, but we never expected someone to straight away come and call him in a 1 day game, because we discussed this matter with the ACB, we discussed this matter with the ICC, and he was cleared by the ICC bowling committee, and we never expected that to happen. But it was more like uh, I took some decisions which a lot of people might not agree, but if I didn't do that, I knew Murali's career might have been over. And it was more like I never took the team out. I took the team to the boundary line and I went out. I knew that if they were going to punish, they will punish me rather than the team. Expecting the umpire to come and speak to the captain before he calls, and it did never happen. Straight away, when he raised the arm and said no ball from the leg, umpire's side, I thought there were more fielders, 3 fielders behind the crease on the leg side. Then he started waving the arm, saying it was the elbow. Then only the controversial issue started. So we kept it going. I was arguing with him. I was telling him why he didn't inform me rather than just coming and such a thing. So the ultimately we went to the boundary line. We showed dissent, came back, and the lucky thing was that we could win that game after chasing something like 300 runs.
Yeah, that must have been a big challenge for the team, having had to go through this incident and then make a match out of it and go on to win. After you retired from cricket, you had a stint with the Sri Lankan Cricket Board as the chairman. How enjoyable was that experience?
No, it was very challenging, and I was lucky that I had a couple of good administrators, like two top businessmen in the country came to help me. Then cricket part was looked after by Aravind and Gaidi Alvis, who passed away a couple of years back. And then I had a lot of support from the cricketers like Michael Tissera, Sanura Tennokones, the past greats. Then Dulip Mendis was the cricket board CEO, and Ashanta Dimel was the chairman selection committee. So we were focusing. I was more focusing on cricket. Administration was I was handling the administration as well, but I was more focusing on the cricket and the cricketers rather than the administration part. And I had we had a very good run. That's the first time the cricket board looked after the school cricket. We had something like 430 or 40 schools playing cricket in the country, and not a single year the school cricket was given a bat or a ball. So we distributed almost like 450 senior cricket bags and the junior cricket bags for the schools. That's we went into the coaching. There were coaches doing coaching in schools without any training or without a knowledge. So we wanted them to do a exam. Whoever is going to get into a field to coach someone, there has to be a document with him to coach the cricketers. So we did a lot of things, but I couldn't stay in the board. I had a lot of issues with that. So a former sports minister, he removed me. Then I had to go to courts, fought with him. Then so things happened. Like it was more like it was so unfortunate. If I had maybe about a year more, then I was looking at 2011 World Cup where we came to the finals, but the planning came from 2008. But unfortunate that we had to leave little early.
The tour of Pakistan around that time did not go well, did it? It was a horrible experience for the players.
That particular tour, I was at the cricket board, and we had a tour, one-day tour earlier, and I was the ACC chairman as well. So I can remember that PCB invited me before the Asia Cup. We played in Pakistan, and they had a really good top-class security system. I was removed from the cricket board, and after that, only then we had the test series, which was a disaster. I don't know whether the people who ran cricket at that time was looking at the security part, and they were more like just going through the motions or the systems. And I can remember I went personally to inspect the security before the Asia Cup final, the Asia Cup tournament, and the one-day tournament, which we never had anything. The security was perfect, but there were some issues happened when I think a lot of cricketers came and told me the security at the Asia Cup and the one-day tournament was perfect, but when it comes to the test series, that the security was not very well looked after. So I think I'm not blaming the DCB or the Pakistan government. It was us. We should.
Would you have enjoyed playing the T20 format? What are your views on that format, especially?
Tell you honestly, I didn't like the T20 to start with. I thought we will be ruining the traditional cricket, which I always cherish. But now people want 2020. It's all about. I don't know how to analyze that. But now that I have realized a lot of, I think most of them will prefer to play 2020 now rather than the only issue I see with these leagues, whether it is India, Pakistan, or even Sri Lanka now, a lot of cricketers are looking at playing and earning money through the leagues rather than giving a commitment to your country. I can't see it's happening. I'm not saying I'm not blaming all the players. There are players whether they play for the country or the state or even a club, they give the same commitment. But there are younger guys who are looking at getting benefited very quickly financially and finish the career. Now, in nowadays, we were not looking at the money part. We were looking at how to win games, how to win for the country. That particular concept might have gone from some of the younger players. I'm not putting all the players into that category, but majority looking at easy passage. But it's very popular, and I watch 2020. But my major worry is maybe another maybe 5 6 years, maybe 10 years time, whether we will have proper technical correct players from like now take India. And I was so blessed when I played my first Indian game in India. Sunil was playing, Gundappa Vishwanath was playing, Amarnath was playing. Then we had Tendulkars, Dravids, Aswaruddins. You had a perfect technique. Now you take some of these Indian cricketers, maybe apart from one or two, they still struggle with their technique. I don't know. So this is where I'm little concerned whether the traditional longer version will die. But look at England or Australia, they still have a lot of people watching. I'm glad that Indians comes and watch the longer version. But take Sri Lanka, we hardly get any crowds when we are playing test matches now.
Do you see the Lankan Premier League, even though it's early days, do you see that benefiting Sri Lankan cricket in the overall scheme of things?
This particular time, I don't know because there are more retired players than the present players playing. I was wondering why they didn't ask Samath Jayasuriya and Aravinda De Silva to play the Premier League in Sri Lanka rather than some of the guys who has been playing after 10 years how to shift IPL to Dubai. But overall, people needs to be there. I don't know. I love people watching cricket when I'm playing. I hate empty stadiums. That's something I don't know how players are going to adjust now with the I feel that taking over. I hope that we will be having proper cricketers produced, especially in India, Sri Lanka, and even in Pakistan. Now, I can't see a single Aravind De Silva or Roy Das, maybe Jayawardene or Sangakkar produced in the last 3 4 years, especially with the shorter version. And you take Kohli out from maybe one or two players out from the Indian side, they are struggling with their technique. So this is something I think some of these cricket boards have to uh, put their minds into it and get the technique right as well when you are looking at 2020.
Tell me, Arjuna, what qualities of yours helped you to be successful as a leader and as a captain?
It's I see if you can get your players to be committed. It doesn't have to be the players, even an organization. If you know that you run for a goal, you run for a target, and if everyone, not even one, should not look at the other side. Like you need to convince them to convince them, saying that you talk sense. It's not rubbish. You talk sense. This is where we can go, and we are going there. And that was the most difficult part I had when I took over the captaincy. And it was more like it's how I can. It's more like you go the losing part, how the country loses, the how public loses interest. So those things it took a lot of time for me to educate our cricketers, and I think that is where a leader should. There can be a lot of captains, but leadership. I won't say born leaders. There can be born leaders, but even the born leaders won't able to handle it properly if you are not properly positive, if you are not focused, if you can't get best out of the others, then you won't be a leader.
Will we sometime in the future see Arjuna Ranatunga doing what Imran Khan has done?
Yeah, a lot of people, like even the last 2015 election, I was one of the preferred candidate before the former president came into the scene. But I take my life step by step, Ramana. If I can do something good for the country, I will do it. Otherwise, I'll just stay aside and do my own thing. But overall, I'm quite happy I was in the parliament. I did a lot of work in different electorates. But I have a problem. If I don't see leaders proper leaders, then I don't stay with them. That is one of my issues. Like if I feel them they are not doing justice for the country, if I see them corrupt or if they are not doing the right thing for the entire community, and I won't be able to sit with them. That is one of my I don't know whether it's a weakness or a strong case, but that is why I had to give up some of my leaders I used to work with. But overall, you never know. You never know. I might be the leader of this country one day. If I get the job, I know I can handle it properly.
No, but as far as politics is concerned, age is still on your side. It could still happen.
It can happen. I think it's all about what people needs. Even we have a problem in this country. We have a leadership problem in our country. We hardly have leaders who can guide the country to the next level, which has been neglected so badly. There were so many good leaders, but when you have the good leaders who can run a country, people doesn't trust them. The people trust some of the politicians who can be corrupt, who can be showmans, but they trust them. So that is where, like, you take all over the world, especially in the Asian subcontinent, a lot of people who can run the country are not the most popular guys. People who can run the country may be the most popular guys in their country.
Any plans at all to make a comeback as a cricket administrator?
Problem we face here, Raman, like if I go and contest in election, I'm going to lose. I contested 3 elections. The first election, I didn't get my own club, didn't vote for me. So it's a corrupted mafia system we have in the cricket boards. So it's all about you have to pay them, you have to bribe them, which I don't do, and you hardly win an election. So that is the problem I always analyze. Now that a lot of people came and spoke to me regarding even the present, some of the present government top guys spoke to me whether I would like to get into cricket. I haven't given them a green light, but if I get a chance, if I feel that I can get into the board and do something without it having interference, maybe a year or two I might try to get cricket right.
Yeah, look forward to that. Arjuna coming back into cricket and doing something for Sri Lankan cricket. Now, finally, a piece of advice to the younger generation.
I think what I don't see from the younger generation, the commitment, some of the senior cricketers. When I look at some of the senior cricketers when I was a kid, the commitment, the dedication, you need to be committed when you are playing for a club or a state or maybe in the national side. You have to have that commitment going. You have to have the dedication going. You have to be working. Some people might have to work very hard. Some people might not have to work very hard to achieve top. But it's all about when you are doing something, you have to give your best and wait for the proper results.
Thanks a lot, Arjuna. Thanks a lot for your time. As always, it was delightful to chat with you, and I wish you all the very best in the future, not only to you, but also to your family.
Thank you, Raman. Nice to see you after a long, long time, and thank you for having me in your program. Good luck
Cheers.
to you.
Thanks, Arjuna. Lovely.
Thank you.
There it was, the man who's done it all, who's changed the face of Sri Lankan cricket. He shared his experience. As usual, he was forthright in his views. I'm sure you would have enjoyed the chat. Until I catch up with you next time, stay safe and stay healthy, and good night.